nurse administrator. I think this guidance and counseling is not new for any of you, because all of you as a nurse are guiding and giving counseling to your patients. Guiding when they come to the hospital, for during admission, during discharge, during treatment, and counseling when they need some special counseling for regarding their therapies or the psychiatric patient. Although you are not professional counselors, but still you are carrying out all these activities since the time you have started working as a nurse. And during your GNM program also, you were taught about all the basics regarding guidance and counseling. And even as a student, you must have taken guidance from someone. Or sometimes some students, if they face problem, your teachers must have given you counseling. So try to recall all those incidences where you yourself has taken guidance or counseling, or you have given guidance to your patients or the family members and given the counseling also. So let us go through in simple terms what is guidance. Guidance means assisting someone, providing information or providing knowledge and skills to make decisions regarding day-to-day issues. That is advice, information aimed at resulting some problem or difficulty. Like you can give advice to the patient when to come for the follow-up. You give advice to the mother when is the next dose is due for the child. But counseling you do, I will explain you little later. Even to if you are working in an educational institution, you guide the students when they come from home, how to adjust in the hostel, how to adjust in the nursing program, how to study, how to balance study and the duties. So these all are part of guidance. Guidance in simple terms means helping or advising how to do something, how to deal with problems. Like nowadays you take the example of the COVID situation. Guidance is given to the public to maintain the social distancing and to maintain the hand hygiene. Same way your nurse administrator must be giving you guidance to wear PPE in a right way, when to wear PPE, how to wear and how to remove and how to discard. These are all the example of guidance. Guidance is just advising, giving information so that if anyone needs help, you can guide them. Now what is counseling then? Counseling is to provide a professional assistance or guidance in resolving personal or psychological issues. Counseling is given by a trained professional, maybe a counselor. The trained professional helps another person through purposeful conversation. Two people meet to explore the problems, to identify the solutions. So here we can say they talk about identifying the problems, what are the underlying causes, help to clarify the underlying issues, explore options, solutions, explore the resources, how to solve it, opt out one solution, help to develop the strategies to solve the problem, and client will solve it. And this will increase the self-awareness of the client. In guidance, it is not a systematic process. Like you are walking and someone comes and asks help from you. That is guidance. But counseling is a planned process where counselee and the counselee is the client and counselor is the professional. They plan, meet and have objectives. In guidance there are no objectives. It is just helping someone. Sometimes you help your neighbor, you help your friend. That is guiding. You help your children at home, you help your family members. So that is, you give some information to them. So that is guidance. In counseling there has to be a trust between both the parties. There has to be a good IPR and the counselor should not be non-judgmental. Mekon should not find out faults and should say have some you can say pre-believed subjective vision about the client. They should accept that person as an individual. So this is the difference between guidance and counseling. So guidance, when you give guidance to someone, it can be educational guidance. Suppose someone comes to you at home, what course to be select? Can I select nursing? Can I do medical? Shall I do dietitian course? What are the prospects? Where are the colleges? How to get entrance? How many years of course is that? How much fees is to be given? So you are guiding someone for the educational purpose to take admission. Then personal problem can be there, social problems, health issues or careers. Suppose someone comes and asks from where to buy a BP apparatus. Which BP apparatus is good? It's electronic or old one? They believe still that old one is good. How to check it? Can you help me? Can you help me that to see that I have taken the reading correct? So that is guiding someone. Okay. So guidance is just helping someone, giving information and increasing their knowledge. They will come and ask and go. They may follow or not. You don't know. That's not a systematic process. But counseling in the same issues for the educational, career, personal, social, health issues, if you give counseling, then it has to be pre-planned. There had to be objectives are to be set. Environment has to be set. There has to be a separate room. Then there are phases of counseling which I will tell you little later. Now guidance and counseling in the hospital or in the workplace. There are many people who need guidance and counseling. There can be good worker who were doing the work, but suddenly a nursing administrator found their performance has gone down. Or there can be habitual low performers. There can be unwilling workers. There can be unwilling and uncooperative workers. There can be depressed workers who have no interest. Or there can be new employees who have joined. Or there are employees whose department has been changed. They may need guidance to work. But if they have some prolonged issues, personal or psychological, then they need counseling. So what are the issues on which they need guidance and counseling? Health issues. If they are sick, having some chronic problem, or someone in family is sick, or conflicting situation in the hospital, conflicts within the department or outside the department, they are not able to adjust, or conflicts with the patient, they are not able to handle it. Adjustment problem in the new hospital, new environment, or if they are away from home. Adjustment problem in the teaching institutions of the students with the new environment, with the hectic schedule of the nursing program. Then interest in the work, family issues, work issues, posting issues if they are posted in a hectic area like in ICU, critical area, emergencies, they are not able to handle it. Their duty hours if they have been given a evening or night duty. Or if they have been shift nowadays, like in COVID, some people are doing 12-hour duties. They may have some issues. They need some guidance and counseling. Suppose some new equipment has come. They need some training issues are there. So they need guidance. Or if they are not updated with their skill, they are not able to perform even day-to-day activities. They need the guidance. Or they are not able to handle the emergencies. Or handling the stress at work and the home, creating a balance between your hectic schedule of hospital and of home. Suppose there is a newly married nurse who has a joint family or a big family. She is not able to adjust. So nursing administrator has to see, they have to identify, they have to speak to them. So provide the guidance and professional counseling if required. Counseling, as already I have told you, it's given by a professional personnel. It is well planned in advance, and there are two types of counseling, that is directive counseling and non-directive counseling. Directive counseling is a counseling where counselor lead the counseling process. Counselor take a lead to start the session, to ask questions, to give a lead so that your client answers the question. They try to find out the problems, go in depth, give the solutions, then try to and tell the client to select one solution. Here, most of the things are done by the counselor. It is counselor has to take an active role in this. Maybe later the counselee, that is a client, take a final decision. But sometimes it has disadvantages. Later client may not agree with the solution taken by the counselor, or may not develop the self capabilities to handle the situations, and may not analyze the situation and may say, no, this was not my problem, I had some different problem. So this is directive counseling. Non-directive counseling is opposite, where counselor initiate the discussion, make the counselee comfortable, and slowly build IPR, ask the question, try to get the information. Then when the IPR is being developed, they go in depth. The counselor gives a chance to the counselee to speak out more, to find out his or her own problems, to find out what are the underlying causes, what are the resources available to solve the problem, and what is the various actions they can take to solve, and select best one and implement it. Here the counselor listens and motivate the counselee to speak, but counselee, that is client, take the decision. Again, here it is very important to develop a good IPR, trust, create environment for the client to be comfortable and speak out, and not to be non-judgmental, and counselor has to be confident and should have various skills which I will tell you. Then there is group counseling. You must be doing group counseling in the hospitals also, when some mothers comes in the antenatal clinic or in the pediatric wards, when the mothers have the issues related to the children. Here the group has a similar problems. You organize a group meeting where they sit, start with an informal talk, slowly they come to the issues and realize there are many people who are facing the same problem. They are not alone. So they also participate in the group, try to find out, identify their problems, underlying causes, reasons, solutions to solve it, and try to find out a solution. But here counselor has to be moderate the sessions. They have to be very active. They should see that all the members participate. It's not that few are dominating. The counselor should have the knowledge of group behavior, good dynamics, group interactions. Then counselor should know the background of the members. The members who are having a similar problem should be brought in, who have genuine problems. Then they should select members very carefully. Arrange a session in a separate room which is comfortable, which is have all the facilities to sit and with the basic facilities. Then there should be an introduction by the counselor and all the members. Explain the purpose for what they have come. Explain the time, how much time is there. Then control and direct the direction of the discussion. And try to find out a solution at the end and tell them when they will follow up. Although in directive, non-directive and the group counseling, the basic procedures remain the same. That is arranging for the session, introduction of both counselor and the counselee, explaining the purpose, what is the role of a counselor, how much time the counselor will be there, what are the objectives of their meeting. Then start discussion and be a good listener and control the discussion and give a direction to the discussion. In between, ask questions. See that the counselee comes to the same lines on which you started the discussion and the problem. Try to find solutions, finalize the solution and increase the self capabilities of the client so that they can realize their problems, realize the underlying cause and find out solution and implement themselves. And in case follow-up is required, they do a follow-up. Then termination, a professional termination is being done. No personal relationship should be kept with the client in any case. And in case referral is required for the professional counseling, then they should be referred. Then phases of counseling. As I have already told you, a good IPR is to be maintained. Unless there is a good interpersonal relationship, there won't be a trust. Counselee or the client will not share the information if do not have the trust. And trust comes maybe after 3 or 4 meetings. So don't be impatient. Patient takes their own time, as you know. They do not come out with their history so soon. You should be tactful. You should be patient with them. Then assessment and diagnosis. Assessment is done. Initial disclosure may be slow. Once the trust is being built, good interpersonal relationship is there, then in-depth disclosures or discussions will go. You will able to know the underlying cause, the problems, resources and many other things. Then diagnosis is finalized, find out course of action and implementation plan is being made. Problem solving steps are being followed. Then it is being implemented. Again the termination, referral or follow-up. It is very important here to understand the counselor should have good listening skills, good analytic skills, good questioning, interviewing skills and planning skills. These are very important. Even your nurse administrator should have all these things if they have to organize counseling sessions for their employees or the workers or for the patients and their family members. What are the good attributes of a counselor? I think after this discussion, you will be able to analyze some of the good attributes of a good counselor, even what your nurse administrator or what you should have as a good counselor. That is good understanding of a human behavior about their problems. Should have empathy. Don't have sympathy, but have empathy. Keep yourself in their situation and see what they may be feeling, that is empathy, knowledgeable about human nature, behavior, group behavior, problem solving, about the various issues, about various solutions what you can give, about the system, because your staff may need some help from you, your patients may need help from you. Then good listener, don't talk much, just ask small questions, confirm the things what you have understood in between. Be a good listener. Good listener means not giving a ear to someone, but give nodding, saying, yes, you meant like this, I have understood like this, and let the patient speak whatever they, client speak whatever they want to speak, what the staff want to say, listen to them first carefully. Be supportive. Sometimes the patient or the client becomes, or your staff becomes silent. Don't be impatient. They need some time to think. Maybe they have become emotional. If they are not speaking for a long time, terminate that session. Call them again. Be supportive. Sometimes they cry. Give them support. Non-judgmental. Don't judge anyone. Don't say, ये तो useless person. ये तो बेकार है. इसको कुछ नहीं आता. इसको तो समझ ही नहीं आ रहा क्या बोलना है. Don't be judgmental. Okay? It's very important to understand. They have the issues, problems. That's why they have come to you. Then be warm and compassionate. Be open. You should have open mind, not closed mind. Be sensitive to the problems of other. Be trustworthy. If someone, your staff comes to your or patient comes to you for some help, do not discuss the issues with others. Do not make fun of others in front of others. Keep confidence, keep privacy, maintain that. Then collaboration, skillful and confident. These are some of the important attributes the counselor should have. What are the various tools you can use? When you are giving counseling to your staff or your patients or the students, you are observing them. That is, observation skills are important. Their non-verbal body language, expressions on the face, you are able to analyze their tone of their voice, expression on their face. Are they quiet? Are they happy? Are they sad? Interviewing technique. What type of questions to ask? How to ask? The words what you use. Do not ask very sensitive questions. If there is any, ask them, do you want to answer it? If they don't want to answer, don't force them. Write anecdotal records. Don't write everything in front of the patient or staff or the student. Just scribble important points. As soon as the session is over, then you write the details, anecdotal records. Then there are certain psychological tests that psychologist will conduct. You can refer them. Then there are some challenges of guidance and counseling. Sometimes the client may say, I know everything. Why should I go for guidance and counseling to someone? Your staff may say, उसको क्या आता है, मेरे को क्या help कर पाएगी? Why should I go? So you have to identify that. Then there can be resistance by the staff or the client. They will not analyze they have some problem because they are still in a depressed or sad or anxious. They are not able to realize their own problems. Difference in values and belief. What you believe and what your client and the staff and the student believes may be different. So you have to understand them. Then sometimes the counselor may not be confident in guiding and counseling. Then you can take the help of someone else. It's very important, already I have told you, to maintain the confidentiality and to have a trust. Otherwise, the trust IP are building in a challenge for an counselor. So these were some of the concepts which I wanted to discuss with you regarding guidance and counseling. What is guidance and counseling? What is the importance of guidance and counseling? What are the phases? What are the types of guidance and counseling? What are the areas? What are the attributes a good counselor should have? What are the phases of guidance and counseling, and what are the challenges a counselor face? Now, stress management. It is related to your guidance and counseling. What is stress? All of you must be facing stress nowadays, especially when you are working with your in the hospital, in the environment with the patients with the COVID-19. Wearing the PPE whole day during your duty hours. Taking care of your patients. When you go back home, taking care of your families, taking all the precautions of social distancing and hand hygiene. It may be causing stress and anxiety in you. But you have to handle it, because you have an obligatory duty to take care of patients. I know there are challenges. The way you are working, it's a great challenge, but very situation, the way you people are handling is also great. So stress, you see in the private sector, the way the people work for 14, 16, 18 hours. So stress is also known as 21st century syndrome. You must have seen people with symptoms like difficulty in taking decisions, rage, fighting on the roads, impatient. They just put on the red lights also. They are fighting with each other, or their horns are there. The way they in the vehicles, if they are traveling, they do not have patience even to stand on the red lights. Sometimes your staff or yourself, you must have observed, if you are under stress, tears come in your eyes. You are restless. You have panic attacks, headaches, not able to sleep, depressed, frustration, migraine, headaches are there. And some people may have illnesses of various systems, maybe digestive system, diabetes, asthma, cardiovascular system, immune system disorders. These are very common if you see around yourself, at your home, at your workplace, with your staff, with your colleagues. So these things are very common. Stress. Manage. What is stress now? I think in a simple words we can say it's a pressure. It's a tension. A state of emotional strain and tension resulting from adverse and demanding circumstances. Stress is the body's reaction to any change that requires an adjustment or response. Body reacts to changes with physical, emotional, and mental responses. I have shared lots of material with you on the WhatsApp. In a simple language, they have given what is stress, what are the responses, what can be the causes, symptoms. Please go through that. Our GAS. I will just tell you the full form of GAS. There are various types of stressors that causes stress, underlying causes, which can be, I have given you so many symptoms, so you can relate with the symptoms. What are the stressors? It can be emotional, social, work related, physical, pain, related to community where you live, family, any change, any decisions you take, any phobias, diseases, and environmental. And many more are there. So these are some of types of stressors. Can you identify some of the stressors in the hospital? I hope you can write down some of the stressors. Maybe environment of your working environment. Maybe some staff is having some disease, not able to adapt with the duties, stressful situations. Some phobias, your students, patients may be having some phobias. Decisions, not able to take decisions. or they have taken some difficult decision, sending child to the hostel, but now they are not able to adjust. I remember one patient. She was a very senior officer. She has only one child, and that child has gone abroad for studies. She was not able to adjust. She was stressful and had lots of symptoms. So her family used to support her a lot. Over time, she took years to adjust that separation from the son. So there are many. Same way, your staff, suppose newly married, you are telling her to do night duty. Not able to adjust in the new family. Not yet adjusted, and you are telling her to do night duty. Sometimes has to take leave. There is a family crisis. Not able to get leave, especially like during these emergencies. So how to adjust? Both parties have to adjust. It's not that always administrator is at fault. Other party should also understand their situation, because your nurse administrator is also a human being, may be working under stress. So if both of you will sit and find out a solution, you will be able to find a solution for that. Then stress management. There can be self-help groups. There can be various methods you must be using. GAS is a general adaptive syndrome. You can see I have given you on your material on that. You can see a very good diagram is given in your blocks. You can go through that. Still, if you have any question, you can ask me. What are the roles and responsibilities of your nurse administrator, or when you become a nurse administrator, in giving guidance and counseling and handling the stress? Again, here I would say you have to be a very good listener. Should have knowledge, should have skills to handle the human beings, should have the critical analytical thinking skills, should have questioning and interviewing skills, advising as know why the people behave like that, understand the human perception, human needs, human behavior, should have good IPR skills, would maintain good relation with your, when you become a good administrator, become a good supervisor, have good IPR with everyone so that your staff can come and discuss problem. Now what happens? Very few people can go to their DNS and nursing superintendent, because they do not have that of patience to listen. Very few administrators, nurse administrators have patience to listen. Sometimes I have seen staff goes to their room and not able to say even their problem. Don't create that type of environment that staff is not comfortable with you. Try to understand them, have trust, have belief, make them comfortable. They have come to you because they are having some problem and issues. You should have the skills who is having a genuine problem and who is bluffing. There can be some people who will bluff also and take undue advantage of the situation. So you should, as an administrator, should have that capabilities to understand. Good listening skills. Don't just speak out. Have a good listening skills. Ask them about their family, how they are going through their work, what type of issues they face. So be positive. It's for both. Be positive. And even as a staff, be positive, ready for the change. Try to be creative to handle the stress. Divert your mind. Avoid taking any substance use, alcohol, cigarettes or drugs. Do meditation, exercise, breathing exercises. Change your thinking, behavior and lifestyles. Even to the nurse administrators, I will say, they are working under stress, hospital administrators. It's very important to understand the human nature. Try to change your thinking, behavior, understanding the people's situation. Do meditation, exercise, divert the mind. Have a group feeling. Be feeling in the environment, in the work environment. Provide good work environment to your staff. and ready, be positive, and you also be ready to change. So these were some of the aspects related to stress management. I hope all of you have read the units and gone through the material which I have shared. Still, if you have any question regarding guidance and counseling and stress management, you can send on the WhatsApp group, and see that you understand these concepts, because this will be very useful for you, because you are working as a nursing officer, and tomorrow you will become a nurse administrator. And the situation at which all of us are working today in the COVID-19 era, it's very important. Guidance, counseling, not even guidance and counseling to the staff, guidance to the community, to the people, to the families, to your colleagues, to your peer group, because everyone is under stress, anxiety. So take care of yourself. Thank you.